feel like I need more light. I'll be right back.
All right. Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to our 5th session of Thrive here in the Madison School District. I'm Dr. Michelle Wilson. I serve in the Student Services Department, and it's my pleasure this evening to have our esteemed panel with one of our middle school principals here, Katie Clark. Katie, you want to wave and say hello?
Hello. Good evening, everybody.
And we've got a great team here from Phoenix Union as well. And I'll introduce one of their team members and their team in just a moment. But Latanya, do you just want to wave and say hello?
Hello.
We're so glad to have everybody. And our topic, of course, this evening is all about middle school transition to high school. So please, as our esteemed leader for our program, Katie McPherson, who's been with us all along, talks us through our programming. Please be sure that you send in any questions that you might have. We'll do some housekeeping here at the beginning, and I want to introduce our Director of Student Services, Edie Dolan. Edie, you want to wave, say hello, and give us a few words?
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much, families, for joining us.
And I also want to just take a minute and give the bios for our different people who are here this evening. So first, I want to start with our principal who's joining us this evening, who also has a high school background, which is really interesting because you came to middle school through high school. And, you know, I came to high school through elementary school. So we kind of have a reverse path. First, I want to introduce our principal, Mrs. Katie Clark. And she, as some of you who are watching know, she is our principal at Madison Meadows Middle School. But prior to working in Madison, she worked in Paradise Valley Unified School District for 19 years in multiple capacities. First, she started as a biology teacher, and she also taught or led an elective called AVID. She was a coach of swim and dive and track and field at North Kenyon High School. She eventually served as their IB coordinator, and then she moved to her first true administrative role, which was the Dean of Students. Now, you and I have that position in common, Katie. You learn to love kids a lot as the Dean of Students. And you did that job at Pinnacle High School. And from there, you became the assistant principal and then principal of Mountain Trail Middle School. And from there, we were honored to get you as our principal at Madison Middle School. So, Katie, welcome. And we're glad to have you, Mrs. Clark.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
And we'll be drawing on you for lots of expertise this evening for sure on our panel. Also, we have Ms. Latanya Blakely here from Phoenix Union, and she's going to introduce the team from Phoenix Union that joined us. And we're so glad to have the full team from Phoenix Union. Thank you again for joining us. I want to give a little bit of background about Ms. Latanya Blakely. She's the Partner District Articulation Specialist for all of Phoenix Union. She coordinates the articulation efforts between Phoenix Union and its 13 partner districts. She supports that's transition, registration, and this is for over 7,000 incoming 9th grade students every year, and that's across 22 schools. Whew. Yeah, wow, Latanya, you got to be busy. She's also served as the post-secondary articulation specialist for Phoenix Union, and that was for the 2018 and 19 school years. Additionally, in Latanya's past, she served as a school counselor for 13 years at Alhambra and North High School. She's a graduate of Northern Arizona University and the University of Phoenix. So Latanya, welcome.
Thank you. And I brought a team with me because support that many schools across our many schools. I can't do this alone. So I brought 3 of our freshman house coordinators from the metro region of Phoenix Union that serves the Madison School District. So from Central High School, we have Dr. Nicole Lewandowski. From North High School, we have Hannah Goon. And from Camelback High School, we have Erica Wimble. Say hi, ladies.
Hello.
Good evening. Nice to be here with all of you.
Hello. Thanks for having us this evening.
Well, thank you. I know we'll have lots of questions. And one of the things about this format is it's recorded. And we've been finding that we have about 100 views, sometimes up to 200 afterwards. I know you work with our community and our parents. So if people don't send in questions tonight, please think about the questions that you get when parents are coming to register or as they're calling and considering registration for their students in your responses. Our program is a Q&A, and I'm going to introduce our moderator here in just a minute. Katie McPherson is our moderator, and I do just ask that you fold in all the things that parents are asking from 8th grade to high school transition. So just 1 minute, I want to introduce our moderator. And Katie McPherson, we're so glad to have you back in all of our sessions. We've got 2 more after this one. I just want to be sure for those who are joining for the first time to give everyone some background about Katie. Katie McPherson brings experience in school leadership, prevention, and organizational change for 25 years as the secondary school teacher, guidance counselor, and K-12 school administrator. She currently serves as a regional sales manager and director of professional development for Bark for Schools. This is an AI or artificial intelligence app that has protected over 5 million children nationwide. She's also a national public speaker on youth mental health and suicide prevention. Katie also serves on the Town of Gilbert, Arizona One Gilbert Youth Mental Health Task Force. She's the lead chair of this group. In her spare time, she's also the mother of 4 teenage daughters. And I know you've done high school transition recently because they're 13, 14, and 15. And it sounds like you're still in the middle of high school transition. Katie, welcome.
Thanks so much for having me here tonight. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. So this evening is all about the things that parents start thinking about, kind of like at 6th grade, 7th grade, but certainly by 8th grade, and it's spring. So parents are absolutely thinking about all the things they're considering as they're moving from middle school to high school. And we've covered a lot of ground in Thrive, talking about social media. We've covered a lot of ground talking about social emotional pieces, but a lot of times when you get ready to go to high school, it kind of transitions over to like, what classes should I take? Do I sign up for the right pieces? What about lunch? What about changing classes all day and having 55 acres? I know when I became a high school principal, I couldn't believe how big my school was. That was one of the things. And my freshmen would always say, this school is big. So as we're kind of segueing in from middle school to high school, and we think about picking your classes and registering, kind of want to kick off our dialogue maybe there. And I know you also want to talk to our audience tonight about how they can send in questions while we're here and live. So I'm going to kind of back away, turn the program over to the experts here. We're glad to have everybody, and I'll be joining again around 7:20. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Dr. Wilson. Thanks so much for being here tonight. I'm really excited about this topic because even though I'm not in the Phoenix Union District, I can always learn something from you guys. So thanks so much for having your whole team here and Mrs. Clark as well. So if you would like to ask a question, we use an app called Slido.com. So you can either go to the desktop version of it or the app. Slido is SLI.do. And in the YouTube link there, you'll see the unique code that we use to ask questions. Certainly, if you want to, pop into the chat, we'll ask the questions there, but prefer to use Slido. So we have a whole team of amazing women here tonight. I'm super excited to have them share their genius with you. So I'm going to start with Mrs. Clark. Mrs. Clark, it sounds like you have some experience at all levels of education, both, athletically, academically, social, emotionally. So in thinking about the transition from middle school to high school, what are some common myths or misconceptions that maybe parents have, and just kind of fleshing that out for parents as they think about, wow, next Friday is April 1st already. I don't know how that's possible. But as we start thinking about spring and then going into summer, and soon it'll be, August 1 and we're ready for school again. What are some things that we can be doing as parents of middle schoolers to prepare them for that high school experience?
That question packs a lot of punch. So let me see if I can get them in order. As far as myths and misconceptions, I would think probably most parents are pretty scared, similarly to what Dr. Wilson said with like how huge the campus is, and probably also maybe some of the shenanigans their kids might encounter, right? So you're going from a smaller environment to something that is much larger. It's definitely going to be the case, but I would think that if we're doing our job in the middle school and we're doing our job as parents, our kids should know how to avoid those shenanigans. I also know, though, that the high school has so many amazing supports for kids. I'm sure the high schools will talk about their freshman house, but I was always impressed by the things that the high school I worked at and the high schools that we send our kids to, with those things that they have to make sure that the kids feel safe and supported when they come. I also think, a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, what if my kid doesn't get into the school I want them to get into? And one of the biggest things I would want to clear up that I think it's important to remember is that our students are really resilient. And no matter where they end up, the teachers are going to be just as caring. The students are going to find friends who have similar interests and values in a bigger environment like that, and they're going to be okay. So I think that would then segue into my tip, which would be probably don't make your stress and make it your kids. I think it's really easy as a parent. I have an 8th grader myself. I have a sophomore. And I remember some of my anxiety, and my husband is like, honey, take a deep breath. You're in this, right? And they're good. We've done our job. So I had to remember to pull back and not let my stress be their stress. And then the other tip I would just say is make sure that you stay involved and ask questions. And that's here during 8th grade, as well as especially in the summer and leading up to and throughout their freshman year and even further, obviously. High school people, I'm sure you can relate. We see a big pullback in parent involvement. And in all honesty, this is definitely not the time to do that. I mean, sure, we want to give our kids more responsibility, but we know that this frontal lobe is not fully developed yet, and they're still going to make mistakes and they're still going to need our support. So staying on top of what's going on in schools, checking all the avenues of communication, sitting down and checking grades with students, getting them involved or giving them the nudge out of the nest to get involved. Those are the major tips that I would say I would offer parents.
Thanks so much. And LaTanya, could you speak just from the high school standpoint on that same front of what are some things that high school parents maybe during tours or spring or summer or calls that you get in the fall even that maybe, again, back to that anxiety that Mrs. Clark's talked about, maybe lends itself to just common misconceptions about what high school actually is all about, especially freshman year.
Thank you. And Ms. Clark hit every note I had for this question, bullet by bullet by bullet. So I'm going to piggyback off everything that Katie just said. Some of the calls that I get or I got as a counselor was mainly the fear because as Dr. Wilson stated earlier, our schools are physically bigger and they're just worried that their kids are going to get lost. So I want to try to ease your anxiety that even though our schools are bigger, 1,800 to 2,000, 2,500 kids, that we really work hard to shrink them down so that they do feel smaller and they won't get lost. And what I tell 8th grade students is you guys outnumber every class. The 9th grade is the biggest class in school every year. So you and 500 of your buddies will all be kind of looking around together and to help one another. So that's the common misconception that their kids will be wandering around lost, but we plan for it and rest assured, it'll be fine. And to piggyback off what Katie said is to please continue checking grades. With so much of the transition is such a funny age, you do want to pull back because they're 14, turning 15 years old, a lot of the kids. And, you want to give them more responsibility because they're getting older. But this is with great freedom comes great responsibility. So continue checking grades. Please remember that attendance counts and know your school calendar because just like in middle school, our calendars are funny and they change and there's staff development days and there's half days. And teenagers being teenagers will tell you that it's a staff development day and it's not a staff development day because they're teenagers and they test their limits and that's what we expect them to do. Please know that grades matter because grades turn into credits at semester and credits what count are what count for graduation, and to as your children are winding down 8th grade, or if we have 6th, 7th grade parents on the call tonight, start to teach that self-advocacy. Self-advocacy is a big skill that they're going to need in life beyond high school, but it's a good time to start to develop it because it's important that we have our students speak up when they don't get something in class. Because, we tell our kids, if you didn't get it, we promise you 3 other people didn't get it, and everyone's scared to talk. So the teacher has to know if they need to, go back over that, or if you have a problem, to find a caring adult on the campus so that we can help you. So please encourage self-advocacy, when you can. And there's times that as a parent, you have to step in and, try the self-advocacy first. And if it doesn't, then you step in as the parent because you are the adult. And also encourage your kids to get involved early and often. Join a club, join a sport. We could bore you for hours on the research that says the kids that are involved do, get the higher grades, get the college admissions, get the scholarships, do all the things that we aspire for our kids to do when they graduate high school. So the earlier they're involved in their campus, the more they feel a part. We don't want your student to get disconnected from campus and disconnected from high school and to feel alone. So as soon as they hit the ground running with summer school, hopefully you're all signing up for Freshman Academy Summer School to join the club of their interest. We have so many across all of our campuses, or to join a sport if that's their thing, or to, just kind of figure out where their fit is. And as you're picking high schools, please go. It's like picking a college. Go with the best fit. If you're a native to Phoenix, where you went to high school may not be the best fit for where your student needs to go. Where they're, take a look at their interests. We have a huge portfolio of menu of options in Phoenix Union, and we're open enrollment. So if they have an interest in something that's offered at North, go to North. If they have something at Central that really piques your kids' interest, a program, let them go to Central. And the same with Camelback. I didn't forget about you, Erica. But we have a huge portfolio to offer our families. So just pick the best fit, just like your student will have to pick the best fit for college after their 4 years in high school are up.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Back to Katie, just thinking about the upper elementary experience in Madison, in what ways does Madison provide kind of that academic support as students transition to high school? What are some of the things that they're prepared for that maybe parents can rest back on or lean back on if students are anxious that first month or two of school? Maybe some of the guiding principles or foundational principles that Madison's mission relies on.
Certainly. I think the biggest things that we really want to do to prepare our kids is exactly what LaTanya said, getting them to self-advocate and speak up and ask for help when they need it. So Madison schools are really great in that we have 5th through 8th grade. And then at the 7th and 8th grade level, what we really try to do, and I'm super proud of our staff and our community, is we start scaffolding, having those higher expectations, like I said before, kind of starting to nudge them out of the nest, right? I always tell parents that I talk to and teachers, we want the kids to do the heavy lifting, right? Like we shouldn't be up there doing the song and dance and shoving content down their throat. We want to start giving our kids opportunities so that they can dive into content a lot deeper and start really learning how their own brains work and what works for them and who they can work with and who they can't work with, and giving choice in terms of assessment so that they can find something that works for them. So those are kind of the main things that we really work on doing. I know a hard thing for parents to learn and step back in is in that communication factor that you talked about. Is we want those students to speak up in class and raise a hand or call the teacher over, or even schedule a time outside of class to get some help, seek help from a counselor if that's what we need. And then if necessary, have a parent jump in. But we want to start getting the students to do that more and more and more. Our teachers here, we do have grade level websites where they'll post updates once a week, but that's not always going to be the case the higher we go in education, right? So 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th and 12th, that's going to wean back even more. And so those are the main things I would say that we do to prepare our students. And then just to share with you, I had a conversation with my 8th graders just this week about like, hey, I know a lot of you are thinking like 4th quarter, 8th grade, we're done. And I was like, no, now is like, it's go time. It's time that you're building habits that you're going to need in high school. We talked about grades and we talked about credits and we're like, hey, you don't get to fail math. You don't get to fail art. Like those are things that are required for you to get that diploma at the end of 4 years. So we talk about that frequently. We set goals and then we ask them to reflect on their own learnings and know what your own strengths and your own weaknesses are so you can continue to grow and learn.
Thank you so much. That was such a mindful response. LaTanya, kind of that same sort of direction, or maybe to your team as well. Academically, I think there's, sometimes a lot of focus on academics. What types of things are you looking for from students on the academic front as they enter 9th grade that first quarter? Because we know they're, transitionally, sometimes there's a dip in academics as they start to take flight into 9th grade. So what are some of the things or maybe some of the supports that the freshman house can lend to a student that may be sort of wobbling or just, kind of getting on their feet?
Okay, so for the academic lens, I'm going to lean on my coordinators because they were all brilliant teachers before they became freshman house coordinators. And so they know more academics. They have forgotten more pedagogy and academics than I'll ever know. So I'm going to lean on Hannah and Nicole and Erica. What are you guys looking for academically for students coming into 9th grade?
I'll chime in a little bit. Building back off of that idea that many students are fearful as to what high school is really about and the expectations and rising to the academic challenge. It's really comforting to know that their teachers work collaboratively as a PLC. They get together, and part of freshman house is their teachers are constantly having conversations about, are we teaching this at the right level? Are we meeting our students where they're at? So I don't believe I have specific advice of do this now and you'll be more prepared for high school. It's really about having the right attitude, this can-do attitude that, oh, I'm going to high school and my teachers care about me. And when I'm there, I'm going to be successful because that's what I want and that's what they want. And it's going to be a great experience if that's your attitude.
Can I interject just another question just for anybody that doesn't know what freshman house is? Just to define that for
yes. Well, I was gonna.
Sorry, I know what it is. But
Freshman House is. Freshman House is a newer program to Phoenix Union. It is found at all 11 of our comprehensive campuses because we have small schools and they're kind of, we don't have to shrink the campus down. So what Freshman House aims to do is to take our great big campuses and make them smaller for our freshmen. So we select teachers, especially to teach 9th graders because the needs are different and to consider the transitions of and where everyone's coming from and where they are in 9th grade. And they work collaboratively. They meet to make sure that, that lessons are going through, and then we can do tiered interventions as well. So if we see that we have a great deal of students struggling, say in algebra, then we can do interventions, to reach the whole, or if it's a certain group, then we can move to tier 2, tier 3. So it's basically shrinking down the campus on the student side, shrinking down the campus. So everybody has common teachers for the most part, common core academic teachers, the core academics, and getting them involved in doing activities together and kind of bonding as 9th graders. So, we can meet new friends. And on the academic side, it allows teachers to get together, go over the data on how our students are doing, collaborate to kind of sharpen and fine tune our practices to make sure that our kids are achieving. And and just raising the level of how well our ninth graders have done. We have seen tremendous, it's been 1 year that we've had Freshman House on all of our campuses, and we've seen tremendous gains on how well our students are doing in their core academic courses. And our goal is to have 70% of the freshman class completely on track with all their credits. And we are actually headed in the right direction. I feel confident by the end. Yes, the clap for them. They're working hard. I'm just a cheerleader at this point. I feel confident that with the interventions we're doing this semester and with a little bit of summer school for some, that we will be there on 70% of our 10th graders next year will be on track when we start in August. So I'm very proud of the students, and I'm also very proud of our freshman house coordinators, because we started this in a pandemic, so it wasn't ideal, but we have adjusted, and we are, we're starting to not just survive, we're starting to thrive with our ninth graders.
That's great.
With the addition of the Freshman House program, we have an extra layer of support for the students. Like Nicole said, it's not only the PLCs, which are the professional learning communities that are content-based, for one for science, one for math, etc. But with the Freshman House, we can redivide the students into houses, smaller houses, that are interdisciplinary. So teachers who teach a same cohort of students in math, science, and English can now talk about their students and give them that kind of support too, which is really a great blessing to be able to have that kind of conversation to help support, plan, and provide interventions for students.
So, one more thing, just to elaborate a little bit about Freshman House. Not only do we have these amazing teachers that want to teach freshmen, that talk about the data, that get together with their cohort of freshmen, our campuses also have specific wraparound support for our students. So we have freshman-only counselors, freshman-only social workers, freshman-only attendance support. I can speak to all three of our campuses. We have 11, but the three of our campuses are similar. A lot of the support on our campus is dedicated to freshmen as part of Freshman House. And I think that's one of the reasons we've seen a big gain in our students being on track.
One more thing, the question is about academically, what can parents and families bring with them in terms of thinking about academic success at the high school level? It's good for them to know that there are so many opportunities to really deeply dive into a particular content area. If English or engineering or art is that student's thing, then they can take a lot of advanced courses in each of our schools in Phoenix Union. They just need to be aware that they're available and continue to pursue that particular interest, because there's lots of room for advanced studies in each of these areas, which is one of the great things about being in a high school compared to opportunities compared to a middle school.
And Mrs. Clark, since you have a rising 8th grader, on kind of a youth mental health front or just that social emotional wellness front, what are some things over this summer that parents can be thinking about? Is there anything specific? Is it more just relax and rejuvenate, decompress? Or are there things that we can be doing to front load students between April and maybe September 1, so to speak?
Question. And I think it probably depends on the kid, right? I think some students really do need time to decompress and unwind and maybe mentally prepare for that next big step. Some students we know do really well when they're on a schedule, right? And so keep up those activities, club sports, other things that they do. I think it really does, though, depend on the kid, because I think my 8th grader right now, he likes goals, and he's already talking about, okay, what workouts can I do now if I want to do freshman football, and should I sign up for summer school? I want to take an honors course. My other son was probably more like, yeah, I'm good. I'm going to ease my toe into the water, and they're both doing okay. The one thing though, I can't state strongly enough is I would highly recommend just not letting kids be couch potatoes on their cell phones. It's really easy as a parent, I think sometimes when you're younger, right? You're like, oh, I need to do this meeting, be quiet, here's an iPad. And then all of a sudden they're older and they're like, wait, I want to have a conversation with you. I want to dive into just some fun things that you can do as a young adult coming up. And once they have that cell phone in their hand, they're pretty addicted to it. So I'd say set boundaries. Don't let that be your easy way out because they're old enough to stay home alone and they're too old maybe for camps and you still have to work. I would say find that happy balance so that they are still being healthy, active, good young adults in our society. But yeah, that would be my main piece of advice.
Awesome. Thank you. And LaTanya and team, just thinking about that transition as we see, some high schoolers struggle just in general with mental health, as far as resources in the district or go-to people, touch points, what types of resources can you offer not only parents, but also students on the front of mental health?
I am proud to say we are resource rich at Phoenix Union. We have so many resources. So once they get to us, first of all, perfect segue, Ms. Clark. To avoid the couch potato syndrome, we do offer summer school for freshmen coming in. That's from May to June, so they still get that time off in July to decompress if needed. That is important. We have to have balance and everything. And this summer, we're actually going to have social workers on campus so that we can continue with the mental health well-being during the summer. So if your students do need to speak to someone, we will have someone on campus throughout the summer to assist with that. In Phoenix Union, all of our campuses are fully staffed with counselors. We are proud of our student to counselor ratio. It is well below the state norm of 1 to 925. We are at 1 to 325. So we are proud. We would like to see it lower, but we are proud of what we have right now. Our campuses our big campuses each have 2 social workers. And I know some of our freshman houses have freshman dedicated social workers. It varies campus to campus. We have student prevention intervention specialists. There's another resource that your student can talk to. They run a lot of our support groups. We are fully staffed with support groups for just about any issue. And the social workers come in at the beginning of the year and they will ask through health classes, where are we struggling so that they can figure out which groups to run. And then we have advisory periods, which is kind of, for us more seasoned adults, that's homeroom in old school speak, basically. And it's an opportunity, one, to get tutoring. And it's a very good opportunity to connect with a teacher, an adult that cares for you, and you will have that adult all year. So if, self-advocacy, they can go to that adult and say, I'm having this problem. And then your advisory teacher can connect you because sometimes, middle schoolers aren't used to having all of these resources, or you don't know the person yet or where they are, so that they can show them, hey, this is your counselor. Hey, the social worker is located here. Hey, have you thought about a group? And we also contract out as well. I believe it's with Southwest Behavioral Health. So it takes a village for good mental health. And it's one of the things I'm most proud of PXU, that we do take the mental wellness of both staff and students seriously. And we are just immensely blessed with resources to cover what we need. And parents, if you see, it's what we tell the kids: if you see something, say something. If you need help finding resources for your outside resources for your students, if you see them struggling, don't hesitate to come in and meet with your student's counselor or meet with a social worker. We are more than happy to help just about any situation. We have the Carl Hayden Resource Center. So if you need a food box, if you need any kind of help, we can get you resources of what you need.
And for those students that maybe are more shy or more anxious or just don't have the vocabulary or self-advocacy skills, both at Madison and at Phoenix Union, is there an anonymous way to ask for help? Is there an easier way to ask for help? Just thinking about those kids that maybe just don't have the skills to raise their hand and say, like, I need help. Is there a way to do that? And that's kind of a loaded question. It wasn't on our, on our scheduled questions, but I was at a conference today and we were talking about those types of kids that maybe don't have caregivers or parents that are as engaged as we would like, who don't have the vocabulary. Like, how do we help those kids into that freshman experience and make sure that they're well taken care of too?
For Phoenix Union, it varies campus to campus. And so I have seen it where there are barcodes up in the hallway and you kind of scan it with your phone and you can type it in and it goes to your counselor or the social worker. I've seen it where you can just pick up a paper, kind of write a note, shove it under the door. There are, ways to contact us through Student View even. You can email any teacher or your counselor through Student View. And while the pandemic has been challenging, I've noticed that the kids are much more, are able to engage better through Microsoft Teams to get in touch with us and through using their emails. I subbed at our digital academy for about 6 weeks. I'm still getting messages from those kids that have questions. I'm like, you have a counselor now, but I'll answer it for you and direct you to your counselor, So as our kids have become more tech savvy through the pandemic, encourage them to use their email or to write notes. A lot of kids will just, come and just sit down and just say, I don't know what's wrong, But different campuses do it differently. And that is a good point. How do we reach our students that, may not have the words to tell us, what's going on?
I would interject too. I think one of you mentioned professional learning communities and how your teachers work together with a specific group of kids. And I think that's so key because it really allows you to get to know the students better. And relationships is a huge key because the teachers are amazing. They recognize those behaviors. They start to see things and they talk to one another and then they seek out the help of a social worker or a counselor that's working on the campus. But that professional learning community, sure, teachers are looking at like academic data, but we're also talking about the students and how they are doing socially, emotionally, because we know that's what it really is. They're not just one little cute academic piece of a puzzle, they're a whole puzzle. And we work really hard to solve it and find different ways to support them. In Madison, we do really similar things as well. Students will send emails to our counselors, and sometimes they're sending emails at 9:00 at night if they're having a tough day. And they know that she'll get back to her. Or they might leave a note as well. I think some campuses sometimes do use anonymous tips, but those are sometimes to report things, to see something, say something. And then I do know, we have a lot of resources as well. We have put kids in contact with Teen Lifeline. There's a lot of different things that the city of Phoenix and Gilbert and surrounding towns all have that are there to support our teenagers as they grow up in this really weird time of their life.
And Teen Lifeline, for those parents or caregivers that are listening, is staffed typically from 3 to 9 p.m. It's a peer-to-peer support line. So trained teenagers with clinicians standing by are doing text chat and email. I noticed in an article the other day that the text line is up 55% since the pandemic started. So lots of kids texting in about, anything ranging from my cat passed away to I'm really feeling like really depressed, right? So there's a whole spectrum of issues that might go to a Teen Lifeline type email or text or phone call. But that is a service that we have here in town in Phoenix, and it's on the back of all of the student IDs statewide. So if your teenager is ever feeling sad or lonely or depressed or just gosh, I had such a yucky day, they can text, chat, or email into that line. And then overnight, Mercy, Maricopa, and Solari, which are crisis recovery network teams, they take over. So it is a 24/7 coverage based on a couple different entities. So I want to give the Phoenix Union Freshman House team some airtime as far as like, what do you all do? Like, what is this? What is your part? What is your role? What do you love about it? What's different from maybe another district you worked in or another experience you've had as far as the freshman year experience? Because most districts in my professional experience thus far do not use a formal freshman house experience like you do.
So what I love best, I'm a former middle school teacher. And it was hard when I came to high school and saw freshmen struggling. So for me, what I like best about my job and what I think that Freshman House is, what we've done so far, is that we shrink the high school experience and we help students be successful right away, right? I've seen such a change in the success, academic and behavioral and emotional success of our students. So for me, it just was knowing that that's what ninth graders need, you know, kind of a in between, not quite middle school model, but not quite high school model, that kind of in between support and all those wraparound supports that we give. That's the best part of my job, is knowing that we are doing so much to make sure that when they leave us for 10th grade, that they are ready, you know, socially and academically.
Thank you so much.
There are so many different aspects of how we work, working directly with the students, working with our Link Crew peer mentoring program, where we have upper classmen, juniors and seniors that are assigned to freshman groups, freshman advisories, to kind of walk the journey with them all year. So we're working with them and coordinating activities and events. We also work very closely with the freshman teachers, which I think is a terrific way to support students, is to support the freshman teachers and just making sure that they're getting a chance to communicate with one another. We're communicating about planning, about the students, trying to do things as a whole unit that's focused on what's good for freshmen. So those are just a few things that are great benefits of having a freshman house structure.
Thank you. So it is about 7:12, so we ended a little bit early. I'm just going to open for questions. So just to reiterate, in the YouTube link, there's a slido.com link in case you have questions. Certainly, if you have questions after this broadcast, we can, provide contact information. So maybe LaTanya and Mrs. Clark, if you could provide your contact information if parents watch after the broadcast tonight and are wondering like, oh gosh, I have a question about credits or I have a question about support. Where can we find you all?
I am at, I'll just give you my email address. It's Blakely, Blakely, at phoenixunion.org. Phoenix Union's one word. So Blakely at phoenixunion.org. I am much easier to reach over the email than I am by phone because I'm all over the place.
Well, thanks for all you do. I can't even imagine.
And you can reach me by email as well. I'm K Clark, so CLARK at madisoned.org. And I, too, am probably a little bit easier to reach initially by email, but people tease me I'm an email hater because my inbox gets full. So I tend to call people back so I can have real contact with everybody. So I'm happy to help anybody out who has questions.
Well, we love real humans that actually voicemail and phone calls. So thank you for doing that. Any additional feedback from the freshman house team? Anything that we missed as far as, how can parents and students prepare to come join you in the late summer, early fall?
I do want to chime in, speaking of how to contact everyone. I know LaTanya, she can help connect parents and students to any of us at the schools. But we have Future Freshman Nights coming up soon. And I really, really recommend that all high school students go to the schools and check them out. Take a campus tour, see how awesome our classrooms, our lab spaces are, and just see how they like the feel of our campus. That's a really great thing they can do to prepare.
And are those being held in April, May? Like, when would those be available?
I believe they're all in April. I could speak for myself. I know ours is April 19th. If the other freshman house coordinators want to chime in with their dates.
Yes, so at Camelback, we are doing April 7th. And, go to all three, right? I think we all three have amazing schools. And we all offer something different. We're all, we're not the same, but we are all of equal quality for our students.
I have a question too. I think it's just a comment, but you also do things in September, October as well, right? Because I know in Madison, we receive information from Phoenix Union and other schools, and we share that out with our families, because I agree with you. You need to go and see. I think LaTanya mentioned earlier, the school you went to is something that you should be proud of, but it doesn't necessarily need to be the school that your child goes to. It has to be best fit. And you really do. I think it's like when maybe you visited a college campus, when you step foot on it, you'll get to see the people, the campus itself, get the vibe from the campus and see what it's all about. And I know in Madison, we'll share that information on behalf of all of the schools that send it to us for our current 8th grade families.
Just to add, for North, if you would like to come to visit our campus, please come by on Saturday, April 30th, and we would love to see you there.
And we have a master flyer that we'll send out and get to the Madison School District Peach Jar, and it lists all the schools' nights. So go to as many as you want, because none of them are on the same night. So you can get that variety. And to answer Katie's question, yes, we're a year-round operation. Getting students registered is early is my biggest career goal. It's the only career goal I have left. Once everybody registers early, I will be retiring out of education. Feeling very distinguished, but we do have for parents of 6th and 7th graders that are on the line. We do hold the PXU Expo, and it's used to be in one place, but I think we're going on to a campus by campus feel, and that is the first Saturday in November every year. And that kicks off registration season, and it's a excellent time to get that first exposure. It's funny, picking high schools are like picking colleges. The earlier you look, the better. So you start looking in the 7th grade, so decisions can be made and applications can be done in the 8th grade. Please enroll early.
Thanks so much. I don't see any questions as of right now in Slido, and I don't see any in chat. Just to reiterate, if you do have questions for these beautiful ladies, definitely reach out to Mrs. Clark or Ms. Blakely and her team. I'm happy to help support you in any way, and I'll turn it back over to Dr. Wilson.
Well, thank you. And thank you so much to our esteemed panel this evening. I know we have listeners this evening, and we have lots of post listeners. I think you gave everybody some really good advice. Our acronym THRIVE stands for Together, Healthy, Resilient, Informed, Values Aligned, and Empowered. And we really want to thank you because you have helped us with our purpose for why we meet. So thank you. If there was virtual applause, you'd be receiving it right now, but you're receiving it from us. So thank you so much for being here this evening. And LaTanya, thanks for getting us the Phoenix Union flyer and helping us get it on Peach Jar, because I know all of our middle school principals are getting questions about that, and we are at the district too. So that'll be really helpful. This story was really inspiring this evening about re-envisioning the freshman year, distilling it and making it a more personalized experience. So I have a question, one question for the team. Did anything surprise you in this work? Did you find anything surprising, something you didn't expect to happen that happened? That's better. We love happy surprises in our work. That's the best.
My biggest surprise, from my role, because I'm not direct student contact as much as I used to be, is they tell you Phoenix Union is 220 square miles. It really is, and there are a lot of you, and there's a lot of families. So my biggest surprise is just the diversity. Madison is different from your neighbors at Creighton, and Creighton is different from their neighbors at Phoenix L. And just learning the diversity of district and neighborhood and student, it makes me take more pride in Phoenix Union because we're able to service such just a wide variety of family, community, and student.
I was very inspired this evening hearing how dedicated everyone is, your community and everyone in your district to unequivocal student success. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. That was and breaking it down until you're going to keep it coming until that's just the bottom line, students' academic and social emotional success. So thank you. Thanks for inspiring all of us this evening. Our next Thrive series is coming up on April 7th. Our topic is, again, we're from 6:30 to 7:30, and our topic is vaping and substance abuse experimentation. We have Shane Watson coming on that evening from Not My Kid. I have seen Shane multiple times. Katie, you'll be moderating again. Katie McPherson will be moderating since we have two Katies in the house tonight. And I can assure everyone it is absolutely worth watching. Certainly, the topic is relevant. I know everybody here who's on the panel will say that's one worth logging into or listening to later. Again, we would love to thank our panel and thank everybody who's watching tonight and who is listening later. And we'll see everybody again on April 7th. From 6:30 to 7:30 p.m. with Shane Watson from Not My Kid on vaping and substance abuse experimentation. Katie McPherson, thank you for leading us, fearlessly leading us, and to our esteemed panel and everybody here tonight. Have a great evening. Good night.
Good night.
Night.
Night.